So I came across some interesting stories, and the food-based one is actually the one that's on the conspiracy list. It's one that a lot of people have requested. A lot of people have questioned its existence. They thought it was just something funny that someone put in the board, and that is mad honey. So mad honey is actually a real thing, and it's manufactured today. It comes from Turkey. Now, mad honey kind of got its reputation because of an event back in 67 BC. I wasn't able to find any sourcing for this story. This is from an article that I'll post below, and I was hoping to get some more detail on this actual battle, but I wasn't able to. So in 1967. In 67 BC, these Roman soldiers were invading the Black Sea area. And the king in that area, let's see how much I butcher this, King Mithridates, knew that these Roman soldiers were just going to plow over his troops. And this is the Turkey region. Well, it wasn't called Turkey back then, I don't believe. But anyways, he sees that these Roman soldiers are coming through, and he's like, how am I going to take these guys on? They're very well trained. You know, we got a good army too, but we got to take care of this. You don't want to have to fight them in an open field. So he ordered his men, hey, go get some of that mad honey, and I want you to break off huge honeycombs of mad honey. And it's actual honey, and I want you to just drop it in the area. Leave it around, so as the troops are marching, they'll run into it. They'll find it. Now, you're a soldier. It's 67 BC. You're not, an army marches on its stomach. There's no Snicker bars back then. You're getting a little hangry. You want to kill some Turks, but you're also just kind of hungry right now. And you look down and you see a big red honeycomb laying on the ground. Looks delicious. Looks kind of like a pomegranate, maybe. You're hoping maybe it tastes like one. So you pick it up. Take a big bite of it. Dude, this is like honey. This tastes delicious. And the other Roman soldier goes, oh man, here, let me see that glastivius or whatever. Oh, you know what I found out too? That the Roman word for sheath means vagina. So if you traveled, so basically a vagina is just the Latin form of saying the word sheath, because it makes sense. You're kind of like putting your quote unquote sword into a sheath. So your gladius into a vagina. So if you traveled back in time, you would hear a bunch of Roman soldiers being like, oh man, where's my vagina? I left it at home. I gotta go, because otherwise I can't carry the sword all the time. No, here, borrow my vagina. It's a little worn out, but it'll fit your sword. Oh, thank you, Fabius. Anyways, so I'm sure that ruined the narrative immersion of my well-crafted story here. But anyway, so the Roman soldiers with vaginas at hand, taped to their waist, are marching through this path to invade, to take on the Turks. And they keep finding chunks of this red honeycomb. And, oh man, this is delicious. Eating it, having a good time. And then the side effects kick in. First, a couple of the soldiers get a little nauseous, a little sick. Some of them are complaining about blurred vision. Can't see anything really well. Then the hallucinations kick in. They see the god Saturn fly across the sky, throwing out rose petals at their feet. They see two squirrels playing ping pong, or the Roman equivalent of ping pong back then. Their vaginas begin to talk to them. Hey, put a sword in me. And in the midst of the nausea, blurred vision, and general unwellness, not to mention the crippling hallucinations, the Turks showed up and slaughtered the Romans. So what is mad honey? Mad honey is actually honey created, obviously, but it's honey created by bees that are let loose in an area that has a bunch of rhododendron. So it's these flowers. So what happens is, even today, the Turkish beekeepers in that area, they'll create their regular honey, And then they'll load up their big boxes of bees, and they have to hike them up this huge hill that's where all the rhododendron things are. I know I'm not saying that right, but rhododendron. Anyways, so they take them up there, and bees can pollinate those type of flowers really anywhere, but up there's no other flowers around. So every bit of pollination the bee gets from those flowers, they go back to their beehive, and one of the chemicals in those type of flowers is a hallucinogenic. So the bees basically are making hallucinogenic honey. In Turkey, it's considered to have a lot of health benefits, and that's why people still make it. It's very expensive too. I think it's like $120 a bottle. And you can order it online if you're so inclined. However, before you do that, we'll get to the health warnings soon enough if the nausea and hallucinations didn't get you. But in Turkey, it's kind of a cultural thing where, you're sick, just take a scoop of mad honey. Oh, you're, lethargic, take a scoop of mad honey. A little depressed, a scoop of mad honey. So you just take a scoop, you're fine. But it's very easy to overdose on it. It can actually kill you if you take too much of it. So it starts off, and it's low blood pressure, irregularities in the heartbeat, nausea, numbness, blurred vision, fainting, potent hallucinations, seizures, and death in rare cases. So it's nothing to be toyed with. And this article, it was a very interesting article. This reporter goes to Turkey and kind of talking to different people, and a couple of them are like, a couple of other people from the West were like, yeah, I really want to get some mad honey. I can order it online, but you never know what's going to be in it. Could be fake. This is kind of like the holy grail of honey. I wonder if bees pollinate marijuana. Does it have to be a flower? I wonder if they could crossbreed a flower and marijuana, and then bees would pollinate marijuana. I don't know. How does marijuana grow? It's seeds, right? Seeds fall off, so maybe that's different. But do bees pollinate sunflowers? Because those have seeds too. Anyways. So they're making this honey over there, and you can buy it. And you can buy it from a shop there, but they don't really advertise it because, again, if you're in Turkey, you know where to get it. They don't want a bunch of Westerners coming over, taking 3 scoops, flipping out and calling themselves the Messiah as they run down the street naked and on fire, and it basically causing the government to regulate their business. They keep it on the down low, they keep it under the shelves. Every so often, you have to have a friend who will introduce you to the right shopkeeper, and they usually keep it under their counter. Fascinating. And again, you can order it online, but you don't know what you're getting. So, mad honey. Very simple. It's such a lesser known conspiracy that it shows up on the conspiracy list. It's actually fairly easy to find. I just Googled mad honey. A lot of people are like, what is mad honey? This is fake. And it maybe it was a little more than Googling it. I think it took me maybe like 5-10 minutes, but it wasn't hard at all. And I thought it was fascinating it's basically a biological weapon. You can use it against an invading force and they don't know what they're into. It takes very specialized. It's like only can grow in a certain area. Like you can't have a bunch of other flowers around. And I always think that's interesting. So like, how did they first discover this? Like, who was the first guy who saw a cow and goes, you know what? I'm drinking out of that udder. Who, at what point in human history? Because, I mean, someone had to sit there and go, man, you know what? My son's drinking from my wife's boob, and that calf is drinking from that cow's boob. Ergo, I should be able to drink from that cow's boob. Like, you had to have a chain of events, a chain of decisions to get there. And the same thing with this. You know that there are beekeepers in the valley for 1,000 years. And they're like making honey and stuff like that. And then so they're like, some guy shows up, Charles the Turk, shows up and they're like, get out of here, Charles. You can't put your beehives here. This whole area is taken. And he's like, fine, I'm going to go somewhere else. So he climbs up the hill to get away from all the bullies and he puts down his beehive and he's like, okay, I think I'll put him up here. And then he starts noticing his honey's red, and he's like, oh, that's a waste. He throws it out, and then more bees, they make more honey, and it's red. And he's like, what am I going to do with this red honey? I'll taste it. And he takes a bite, and he's like, oh, this actually isn't that bad. Even though it's red, it tastes pretty good. What do you think, bee goddess? And then the bee goddess is talking to him because he's having horrible hallucinations. And then from that point on, somebody said, you know what? I bet you this has some health benefits. lowering blood pressure is a health benefit. I don't really see how blurred vision is a health benefit, but it's that chain of events had to happen. I mean, maybe they found a red just beehive one day and they're like, hey, let's take a bite out of that and see what happens. But even then, that's weird. To get to the point where they're manufacturing mad honey and they know enough about it that they can use it effectively against an invading force, it wasn't just a fluke. Nothing's ever a fluke. And I think that a lot of times when we look at society or world history, we jump to like point 12. The point 12 is being mad honey exists. We don't know who found it. We don't know why they found it. Same thing with shaman, who are like, take this bean and put it in your ear and then blow out your left nose while chewing on an onion root and it'll get... How do they know all that stuff? More importantly, how do they know which stuff in the forest is not poisonous? Shamans are like, hey, drink this, but don't drink too much or you're going to die. Like, how do you figure that out? Ayahuasca, things like that. You think evolutionary-wise, someone would have found it, eaten it, died, and then everyone else would have been like, nope, not doing that anymore. That's what animals do. Animals eat plants, and they keep dying, and then they evolve to where they stop eating that plant. So it's weird how we skip whole parts of human history, and it's just like, oh, this exists. Humans drink milk. And who was the first guy who was like, that white mucus coming out of that udder, that dirt-covered, mud-covered udder? Yeah, I'm putting that in my mouth. Fascinating. Somebody had to do it. That was a clip from our daily podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime news. If you want to hear the full episode that this clip came from, check the link below. Please like and subscribe. And hit that little bell, too. That does some magical stuff. Thanks, guys.